Hey, Iris. All right. Hello, everybody. I hope this is working and it's not yet. Refreshing. It's working. We are currently live. And I need to bring you up onto the screen. There we go. Hello, everybody. This is Be With Artist Live Q&A with your host, myself, Andre Stevens, and this is Cody Gindi. So welcome to
Yeah.
season 3 of Be With Artists events that we've been doing here in the Be For Artists Discord community. It has been a long hiatus of nearly a year, so I'm very happy to have you all back. I'm also very nervous. My palms are sweaty, my knees are spaghetti, but I am honored to share this first episode with a very cool YouTuber, artist, and also upcoming and growing friend from the Discord community and Control Art Delete, co-founded with Alan Watts, who we have interviewed here before. So, Cody, tell me a little bit about yourself.
I am a 3D artist. I make mostly stylized, painterly type things. A lot of cute subject matter, things that are silly or even kind of peaceful, super colorful things. I make YouTube videos, Instagram Reels, where you might know me from. And I do some education stuff related to 3D graphics. I think the coolest thing that I've done, the thing that people get most excited about, is that I have taught several classes for Pixar, which is very fun and exciting. So I got to actually go there, which was cool. But yeah,
Pixar. That's actually another level.
it was
Well,
fun.
that's excellent. Okay. So, what inspired you to, I mean, just a little side note actually. This is a season 3 launch. Not only is it special because of Cody, but this is also special because we have finally started to celebrate 10 years of Be For Artist and also the 106th episode of this series. So 10 years of Be For Artist, I just wanted to ask you, what do you know about Be For Artist? Well, how have you come by the project so far?
What do I know about it?
Mm-hmm.
So I know that it seems that the purpose of Be for Artists is to expose a lot of Blender's features that are not very intuitive to access, especially for people just starting off. So there are, uh, I guess, more descriptive graphics that are like a lot of icons that you can click that lead to things that would normally in vanilla Blender be buried under several layers of menus. How's that?
Yes, that's perfectly fine. So 10
Okay.
years. So 10 years ago, where were you? What were you doing about 10 years ago? Have you already started getting into 3D at that time?
10 years ago, yeah, I had probably started 3D, and so that would be 2015. So I would say probably the first time I touched a 3D software was around 2014 in a 3D modeling class I took in college. But yeah, I don't think my Instagram goes back that far.
430 weeks. I can't do the math, but it's about 50 weeks per year, 53.
Oh yeah, at the bottom it's March 12th, 2017.
Ah, there we go.
Yeah.
Well, not bad. So you're starting to get
Yeah.
into it by you're already getting your hands dirty, and you're also starting to do a lot of like actual traditional artwork, paints, things like that. Also heard you also were starting to get into uh, theater as well. You had a background in theater.
That is so true. Yeah, I mean, I was very much a theater kid just from third grade onward. I was performing probably every year. And so I think that's one of the reasons I really enjoy doing YouTube videos and talking. It's like right, I feel like I would feel like I was missing something if I wasn't also doing a little bit of performance.
And a little bit of a show and tell. There we go. I'm so honored that you can do it today. So, as a summary, when it comes to you being an artist coming in around, how would you summarize your ethos? what drives you to do what you do today? And what do you do exactly today? Now that we know a little bit about your past. So what drives
Yeah.
you and what
So
do you do?
okay. What drives me is, well, number one, I think curiosity. I just really like learning about things. And art is a way to do that, right? Just making really close observations and to deeply understand things. So specifically, animals and geography are two things that I'm super interested in. And so I end up doing a lot of animal characters and illustrations of places. And I don't know, it's fun. It's fun to be able to capture the vibe of a place and learn about it. And then what was the second part of your question?
So with that essence of what you're doing, like just wanting to learn about it and expressing yourself. So what do you currently dedicate yourself to in your free time now? Or in your current time? What's your vocation?
Actually, can I? I'm gonna add more to your to the first question because I think there are probably other things that drive me. Community is a big one. So I grew up with parents who were very involved in our small town community. So that's something I got really used to and appreciated. But as an adult, I didn't really have much of a community that understood the things that I was interested in. So recently, Alan and I, or almost a year ago, Alan and I started our Discord server, and I mean that honestly gets me fired up a lot. Like it's very exciting to be able to share work with people and grow alongside people. And then another thing that gets me fired up, Dre's, is just sort of artist mental health, I guess. So a lot of time, or I feel like I've spent a lot of time being scared to post things or being scared to even make things or scared to start things. And it triggers some anxiety, some perfectionism,
Me.
and yeah, and in general, I guess it's sort of a barrier that historically has stopped me from making the things that I wanted to make. And I don't like that. I think that that's that's silly. And so I think a lot of what I'm doing is trying to slowly push myself out of my comfort zone so that I can just make the things that are exciting to me without all of the extra stress and anxiety and overthinking and perfectionism, basically. So I'm trying to fight my own perfectionism and then share examples of me doing that, and then hopefully that helps people.
That is actually a very good point because I mean the topic of today we both agreed to choose art and community and to see how that ties together and seeing that this is one of your core passions and what actually drives you what you're doing today along with Alan Watts who we've had earlier, the artist and the mental blocks that we have, the imposter syndrome, the anxiety of talking to people, networking to make a sale, just trying to get over the perfectionism to make an art piece. I think that's highly relevant. So that I
Yep.
guess that's a very pure and solid foundation to what drives you. So when it comes to your artwork, I've been going through your Instagram just briefly, taking a look at your pieces. You've mentioned that you have a very liminal space kind of vibe to how you drive your things. So
Mhm.
with the new community and being fired up when you started, how has this community of Control Art Delete affected your artwork? First things, what is Control Art Delete? And second thing, how has that helped your drive, your purpose?
Yeah, so Control Alt Delete is a Discord server that's mostly focused on painterly, stylized, and illustrated looks in 3D specifically. I mean, we really talk a lot about hybrid workflows as well, combining 2D and 3D, and also, I mean, we have people that are just 2D artists that hang out there too. So everybody is welcome. But basically, we share our work, we share ideas, and that's the basic.
base of it. Just sharing the open idea of sharing the concept, sharing the artwork and times. So when you talk about sharing
Yeah,
your ideas, what's the most typical way that you do it in the community?
yeah. So sometimes it's just kind of subtle, right? So we do voice chats almost every night now, honestly, and a lot of times we're live streaming as a part of that. So that's just a really simple way of sharing what you're doing, and that has an influence on other people. It has an impact. So I like this. So Brian Eno, the musician, has a concept that he talks about called scenius, which is like the collective genius of a community and how sort of ideas can form and spread and grow within a scene, a group of people. It's very much in the spirit of open source software as well. But I just think it's very fun to watch that play out in the server. Like, for example, one person will have an idea or just have a thought about how to make something, and then they'll mention it to the group, and then someone else will take that idea and make it their own, honestly, and then it kind of keeps spreading. And then by the time it gets back to the person who initially thought of it, it sort of has taken a form that they could have never come up with on their own. And I think that's really exciting. I think it's a great way to grow, is to grow with a group, grow with a community.
It is a great way to grow the community. I agree. This tiger's amazing, by the way. I loved it.
Thank you.
And I've been noticing that a lot of your early work has come in from a 2D outlook into life. So when you started the server, I know the server has a very strong basis on non-photorealistic rendering. And I noticed that your background with the theater and also the artwork on actual painting and drawing in 2D. How did you transition the concept of a non-photorealistic art or eye into 3D?
Um, so it's kind of like I don't know if the Instagram tells the full story, maybe, because a lot of what you're seeing that is 2D, it actually started out as 3D, and then it's a paint over,
Oh,
where
really?
that's like a physical sculpture, right? So I think the 3D has always been a part of it, and also like a way stronger part of it. I think I struggled way more with the 2D, and that's kind of what led me to the non-photorealistic 3D, because 3D felt natural and 2D was a struggle, but I still wanted my 3D to feel like to give me the same feeling that the 2D work I love gave me. And so that's where the connection came in.
Oh, you bridged the connection quite nicely. Okay. So you're transitioning your concept of using the 3D to bring out the 2D look, and you're building it into the community and inspiring these ideas. So I want to go back to that idea concept. You said you're planting ideas with your friends. Well, we're always like, I connect with you guys sometimes. I connect with a couple of artists as well. You're all incredible. So what's a good example of an idea that was planted in that server or in your art community that flourished into something new?
Hmm. Well, sometimes it's really small things, like just like the idea of using the filter node in the compositor, like specifically the shadow filter. Um, I don't know. I actually don't know who came up with it first, but I know that like I heard it through a chain of people. Like obviously, like you do that in other software, but I think just even just knowing that that exists and is something that you can use was something that I learned through the community. So the and when the shadow filter kind of makes it feel like almost like a real medium, like a gouache or something, like a really thick paint. But that's something that just spread through the community, and now a lot of people are using it. Or like a technique that I use a lot for uh, creating rough edges
Hmm.
in 3D. Started out as something that Pedro in our server
Ah, yes,
posted,
Pedro.
and he posted sort of like a vague description of what it was. And I think a lot of people were really excited about it and started to kind of think about it. And through that, I figured out a way to do it, and then posted a video about it. And honestly, I posted a video about it, and that video did really well on YouTube, and that went sort of through the server even more. So like it found more people who were interested in this specific thing, and so that sort of added to the cycle.
Ah, you mentioned YouTube. I did want to ask about it. So when it comes to art
Yeah,
communities, I mean, you have your Discord server, connecting every night, connecting with real people, which is a really important thing, especially when it comes to like artistic health. We're very human. Art is about communication and being very human and expressing ourselves, expressing a style. But you also mentioned YouTube and
mhm.
sharing these ideas, planting these ideas, not only in the server but also on YouTube. So what is your YouTube channel? Can you tell us a bit more about this?
Yeah. So if you search Cody D&D, you'll find it. I don't really have that many videos up there, but I started off with just a video about how to hand paint normal maps, and it went very viral. That was my first video up there, and there's over 1 million views on it, which is cool. It was actually a summarized version of a presentation I gave to Pixar about the same topic, and yeah, it did really well, and it was sort of a tutorial style video. And I guess my problem was that that wasn't the type of video I wanted to do long term. So now I'm trying to do more, trying to grow an audience with more, I guess, like challenge videos, or like videos of me making something in a shorter, more restricted amount of time. And so a lot of that is to address something that I've noticed within myself, which is just and I'm sure that a lot of people can relate to this, but a tendency to drag on product or projects, for projects to drag on, for the scope to grow to an unmanageable size, things sort of balloon. And yeah, I was just having that experience a lot where I would get to the end of the project and sort of not have a good idea of how I got here. Like I started off with a simple idea, and now it's really complicated. And so the time limit I feel like is really helpful for me. Just saying, you know what, I'm gonna make something in 1 hour, and it doesn't have to be the best thing I've ever made, but there's still value in making it.
I like that. I
And so
always,
that's kind of
yeah,
what.
I get stuck in that
Oh, I was
one
gonna say,
hour, the time limit of going down the rabbit hole of perfectionism or trying to develop a project there. There's some projects I can do in a very short amount of time, maybe 1 or 2 hours, like a drawing practice, for example, in 3D or something. But then there are the 600-hour long 2 minute animation projects that I've had.
yeah,
So,
yeah, and I think sometimes it's just you're trying to create something at like a higher level than you ever had before, and so you're substituting the skill with time, which makes sense. I think it's a good way to learn, but I don't want every project to be like that. Sometimes I just want to make something, and I think there's a lot to learn from just like making something quickly and just seeing what you do, figuring it out, right? Like under pressure, you have to make tough decisions faster, and I think there's a lot to learn from that.
tough decisions faster and learning it about it quickly. So I've previously I had the opportunity to participate in one of your hour challenges in your Control Art Delete server. Um, when is the next one?
Oh, the next one is on July 5th. So we're doing them. We're trying to do them monthly on Saturdays, and everybody's welcome to join. Basically, at the beginning, everyone will get the same prompt, and then we'll all take 1 hour to make some sort of artwork based on the prompt. The medium doesn't matter. There really aren't many rules. It's not really a competition. At the end, everyone posts their work to the same channel, and then we sort of talk about them. We get excited about what everybody made.
I like that. I should do some more of these quick little practices as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Man, I mean, Jordan, I've just came to realize that you've had a lot of inspiration of real world materials where you're building your 3D concepts and your artwork from the real world materials. I think that's quite a
Mhm.
clever idea, keeping it grounded.
Yeah. It keeps it grounded, and I for me it's just more intuitive. Like I always get frustrated working in 3D if I'm doing it for too long, uh, just because of the reality of like working in 3D space on a 2D screen, right? It doesn't accurately mirror how we interact with things in the physical world, and so sometimes I just want to make something straightforward. I just want to put marker on a piece of paper and make the thing, and I want it to be immediate. So that's a lot of the reason why I do that.
Okay. So when you started the server and you started doing these 1 hour challenges, started working with your friends, having I guess you could say, your accountability to push yourself out there to get past the perfectionism. Um, how has it felt so far with your friends connecting and that peer pressure, I guess you could say, to not get so stuck inside the perfectionism? How's the experience so far?
Um, yeah, I feel like the more I put my work out there, the easier it is to keep making work. So sometimes I'll just be sort of, I don't know, like when you're working alone all all day, and you I don't know, I feel like I can kind of lose touch with reality, sort of, right? I'm like in a cloud of perfectionism, probably, or just like concern, like, are people going to like this? And so yeah, it is very grounding to have other artists to talk to and to run ideas past. This is another thing, like sometimes I'll like spend a bunch of hours working on something, I'll feel really down about it, and then I'll show it to some people on the server, and they're like excited about it, and I was like, oh, I forgot that this was that, like, I had been looking at it so long that the magic was lost on me, basically. So sometimes it helps to have someone else look at it, and then it just helps you realize, oh yeah, this I guess this is worth my time.
Worth my time getting a second opinion, just like another
Yeah,
doctor.
definitely.
Great. You need two eyes to see the
Yeah,
depth of your
yeah,
piece. Makes sense.
yeah.
So, but how did you overcome your fear of showing your work when it's not finished, when it's not perfect, when it's not exactly how you want it to be? I mean, you gone to this tunnel vision and you're looking at this piece and you're like, oh man, this looks terrible. My technique is all off, or it looks like someone threw a potato at a wall and it turned into pasta and now it's growing mold. I don't know what it is. How did you overcome that fear of like putting yourself out there for that second opinion? How do you not take somebody's potential comment personally?
Yeah. I think it's hard. It's very hard. I think it's the growth mindset, right? You got to reframe it as this is the the art that I made is not my final goal, right? It's not the last thing that I'm going to be making, and my goal is to make something better in the future. And sharing this ultimately is going to help me. And so, I mean, it's hard, and you have to really, like, it took a long time, and now it's a lot easier for me to post things, but like just deep anxiety posting TikToks in 2021. Like that's what there was some initial work that had to be done before I got to this point, for sure.
And so, what were your fundamental steps that you had to do back in 2021 to get to that point? What was that mental process to kind of overcome that concept to say, hey, this job is for later, it's not finished yet, don't be afraid? What were your fundamental thought processes to get there?
Mm, That is such a good question. Um, my fundamental thought process to get there, I don't know. I'm struggling with this one. So I probably so okay. So one thing that really helped is that initially I think I sort of like I built up to it, right? So initially when I was posting on TikTok, I started off with no followers at all, and not even like family and friends or anything. So I was just like posting to no one. I was posting to strangers, and a lot of times people just like no one would see anything, which was disappointing, but also like a little comforting. It was like a good way to practice, and
No one's watching.
yeah, no one's watching, yeah, and yeah. I hope that answered your question. I'm not
So I
sure that
guess
it
that
did.
started creating. I mean, I guess because the stakes were so low when no one was watching, you started pushing and creating the habit of actually doing it. I think that was a pretty good idea. So
Yeah,
it came
you
as a
have to find a
natural
way
evolution.
to take the pressure off, basically. And one of the ways I do that is the 1 hour challenges or like having some
Mm,
sort of premise because you always have an excuse. You can be like, well, maybe this isn't the best thing I ever made, but I made it in 1 hour. So, and then like as far as the person looking at it knows, I could have done better if I had 2 hours or whatever. You know?
okay. So this leads on to my next topic about this. Uh, I noticed that a lot of your artwork has a lot of premeditation, and you're thinking of like just throwing in some material on some paper, then trying to reproduce that into 3D, and then you have the brute force of like, okay, no one's watching, so I shouldn't be afraid, but I want to push myself out there because I want people's opinions and I want to put myself out there to keep growing. That the next piece is going to be better, the next piece is going to be better, so I'm not going to beat myself up if this isn't perfect. Putting a time limit on. So, what kind of tips do you have to brute force your progress? And how do you manage yourself through that kind of stress?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so this is I'm working on a my next YouTube video is kind of on this topic a little bit. I guess the premise is that a lot of times I'm making something and I'm feeling a lot of stress. I'm feeling a lot of anxiety, and it's always interesting to sort of zoom out and realize that the thing that I'm stressing about is a jazz band of bugs. It's like I'm like making a 3D bug band. I'm doing something really silly, and I'm tense. I'm freaking out. And for a 3D bug band, though, and so I don't know. I think it helps that I make silly things, so that helps give me some perspective. But basically, the premise of the video is that I make a 3D bug band, but I'm a chill guy about it. I try to do the whole thing in a day, and I try to focus on what's like actually important to me because I find that a lot of times when I'm being a perfectionist and I'm worrying about something, the thing that I'm working on or like the little detail that I'm tweaking, it's not actually about what I like or what's important to me. It's about a fear of what I perceive other people thinking is important. Like I don't want other people to critique this thing, so I'm gonna like really focus in on it. But in a world where I was just alone making art and no one would ever see it, I don't think I would care about a lot of these things. So I guess I try to think about it helps me be like, okay, I like usually like if we think of a studio, right? A studio film is made by people with a bunch of different specialties. So it comes out super polished in every area, right? They can check all the boxes. But I am one person and I have limited time. And so what I can do is just decide what I want to focus on, decide what I want to worry about. And I don't know, what kind of motivates me is like I want to make art, but I also want to live my life. I want to do other things. So if I want that, then I have to just be like, okay, I'm just going to focus on the characters and the mood of this scene, and let's not get complicated with the shading or the lighting or anything because it doesn't really matter. Like it doesn't affect the outcome that much. Like just because I can conceive of a way to improve something doesn't mean I have to do it, right?
Mm.
I can leave problems unsolved. So there you go.
Leave problems unsolved, giving yourself some grace to let things go. I guess that's how you dominate the
Exactly.
curse of perfectionism and paralyzing anxiety of trying to get things done to
Yeah.
absolute perfection. Which seems like a paradox because once you overcome that sense of letting it go, then you start to release and make things and not get stuck down a rabbit hole, and at the same time not burn out by being stuck with your nose grinding on the stone. Interesting.
Yeah, and I feel like by letting yourself make more things, you get better. And then when I don't know, I feel like I've become less of a perfectionist also because I practice more and just I'm it's like easier to realize what I'm visualizing. Like I just get a little less stressed about it.
That's very nice. So I noticed as well, one of the core issues as an artist sometimes is comparison. Comparison, envy, a sense of feeling like you're guilty because you're not doing as much as your fellow peers, or you feel like you were too busy with life, for example. Maybe you got stuck with some family, or you're at work. Maybe you just don't have time to just sit down to do something that you want to. Maybe you've had a difficult accident that happened and you're stuck. Um, How do you? I notice you've been handling like with yourself, understanding how to handle yourself with your past self, not comparing yourself to the future self, learning to be graceful and let your imperfections go, start a new piece, give yourself some limits, take some shortcuts, and not be so perfect. But when it comes to a sense of perception of other people and other people's amazing productivity. Maybe there's like an amazing YouTuber or there's amazing artists that you followed, or even Picasso who did thousands of paintings. How do you handle, or how did you handle that kind of a sense of a almost like peer pressure or comparison? Do you have any tips for that type of imposter syndrome?
Yeah, I think I do. I think
I mean, it's not true for not.
uh
It's not true for everybody. There are some people that get inspired, obviously, but like there are some others. I mean, depends if you're an introvert or extrovert, I suppose.
yeah, I think a lot of it comes from understanding what your superpowers are, I guess. Like everybody's good at something and nobody's good at everything. And so it's easy to look at things that other people have that you don't and feel like, "Oh no, I'm supposed to have that. I'm supposed to be able to draw perfect anatomy or whatever because other artists can do it."
Mm,
But you can also be like, "Well, that's their thing. They do the realistic muscle drawings and I do the silly cat drawings. I don't know." And what like so Pixar invited me to like go to their campus and teach a class, a 3-day workshop with 12 of their employees. So these are professional Pixar employees who are experts on shading, modeling, compositing, whatever. And I have I have never worked in the animation industry. So of course there was like, why ask me to do this? Like what do I have to teach these people? Um, and what they told me and what other people have told me since is that I have like a ability to kind of just make things and jump between software and not worry about it so much, not worry so much about the rules. And that's actually something really helpful, something a Pixar employee could learn from because they exist within a very rigid structure. Everyone has their role, and so sometimes they're maybe a little bit timid to go out of their comfort zone or do something that is sort of outside of the established. So I don't know. I think that was like, okay, so maybe I'm not an expert on shading, but I have this other strength that I could lean into.
I like the mentality to some degree. There's that's also an exercise that I do in my mind to help me overcome that. Like sometimes my self confidence, I'm pretty busy. I always bite off more than I can chew, and in doing so, I don't often focus. But at the same time, I think about, and I started quite late. But with that, I also think of like a card game. You know, my cards are not your cards. This was
Yeah,
the draw that I got, and we were each having fun playing the game. So, I guess in that regard, you have a set of cards that the people at Pixar didn't have. And that is a valid and valuable concept to have in mind, to not compare yourself to other people. And in other words, be inspired by how other people played their card game, I suppose.
yeah, yeah,
I like that. I like that a lot.
yeah. And just to add one more thing, I guess, like when I see artwork on like Instagram or Pinterest that I really like, it is a lot of times I do feel like some sort of tension. Like I should be able to do that. I need to make something like this right now. I want this skill or whatever. Um, but I think there's some comfort in just appreciating the art and just being like, that's good. I'm happy for them. That's exciting. Or even like, I don't know, something that helps me is commenting, like leaving an encouraging comment. And then I just like, I don't know, I feel like I'm like releasing the tension and kind of giving myself permission to not have to be an expert on everything.
That is true. There's a nice comment here that says, you don't need to be an expert by Les. You don't need to be an expert on something if you know how to tackle a problem. That alone is being an expert and using your creativity to achieve some kind of goal. My valuable lesson is there is a different approaches to a path and not a singular one is the right one. If drawing makes your textures that means you're an expert on your own level in your own eyes. And Slink also mentions stuff that has inspired him is using early sketches or blockheads and how bad they used to look and how they can go from being something exciting that looks incredible. It's a journey that you can see himself doing, which I think is nice. And also about your
Yeah,
artwork, you do have a comment. Conjure mentions that the camera rotations that you've been adding into your art pieces is very satisfying. That whenever you look at a drawing, you feel like what's behind the tree, and then the camera rotates and you see what's behind it. The power of 3D.
there you go. Yeah. Yeah, if you want to go a few slides further in that puffin illustration, it might be at the very end. So just like keep going.
All the way to the end.
Yeah, right here. So this is like kind of what Slink was talking about. Is like this is like where I started and where it ended up. And yeah, when I look at these puffins, I don't feel that good about them, honestly, unless I'm looking at this last slide. Like the before and after, for whatever reason, returns me to a state of enjoying them,
That
and
is a
it's just appreciating the progress, I guess. Like it's comparing yourself to yourself.
That is good. Understanding the timeline of things. I often take screen captures of my work and have a big, massive folder of progress, and then I look at the crude wireframes of where my project has come from, and then look at the end. Even if it's taken a few weeks of hard work, it is very satisfying to see where it's come from. Even if you might not like the end result, it's like, well, that was an impressive amount of fun and journey.
Yeah,
That's a
definitely.
good tip. Ah, this piece is beautiful there. So,
Thank you.
I guess you've been through the process of being a beginner. It was not great at first. You've had a moment where you weren't 100% satisfied with the pieces, but now it is fine that you compared it. So, what would you recommend somebody who's starting, who is getting their hands wet and trying to do artwork, what do you recommend them to do?
Okay, that's a good question. Um, I think I don't know. I feel like when I was starting, I was I think suppressing the things that like really got me excited because I didn't see other people doing them, I guess. Or I didn't see other examples of exactly what I was imagining. And I guess I assumed that that meant that it wasn't good. Like it wasn't an interesting idea. And so I guess the advice from that is that be yourself. Try like I just like try to get to know yourself and try to understand what you actually like. And I think that's what I'm gonna go with.
Understanding yourself and understanding what you like and being yourself. I know it's a little bit of a cliche tip and it's a hard
Yeah,
thing to do, but I guess is to know what you like is more granular and specific. That's good. So that means you have to, I suppose, search for the things that inspire you, that you know what you like. And that would make sense, I suppose. So, how do you think community in the art world can help you with this concept of being yourself? How did you find your identity in the art community that you've managed to grow and build?
yeah. I think it's a way of practicing. Just practicing talking to people about art. Like it's a little bit of a skill. Like just being outgoing and honest, and like even like giving critique or receiving critique. Right. It's just it's sort of like training, practice
Going to the gym,
for yeah, exactly.
social gym. All right.
Yeah. Because
Okay.
also it's just like a voice chat is kind of it's pretty low pressure, and if something goes terribly wrong, I don't think it's that big of a deal. You can delete your Discord and change your name and try again later. I don't know. That's not a real suggestion, by the way. Don't do that.
Do that. Oh man, that's good. Yeah. I mean, when it comes to these art communities, I started Before Artist. I joined not too long after 2015 when I was being part of. I used to be part of the True Space art community in 2008. And then I joined the Soft Image community a little bit, trying to get into it. And then I got into the Blender community, which I felt like an outsider with the Blender community for quite some time. Um, but then I got more into the community, especially with the people who use Blender here in the studios. And then in 2020, the turning point of me discovering Discord, discovering the art communities like Curtis Holt at the time, Arendelle, and then meeting Alan through Arendelle's server, and then meeting you through the Control Art Delete. I think what you mentioned, like getting the practice, getting strong socially, connecting into these art communities is key. So, how do you know what is a good art community to be a part of? To throw yourself into the voice chat, what would you consider a healthy art community, and how would you compare it to an unhealthy community?
Hmm. Well, I think everybody's different, and I think it's number just generally different people are gonna like different types of community. So just on a personal level, just give different communities a chance, assess the vibe, and if it's not for you, you can move on. But as far as what makes a healthy community, um, I think at least in our community, we're just it's just like a willingness to share and to help. And I think Alan, who co-runs the server, is the king of being helpful, and I think he has set a really good example just because sometimes I feel like he'll just drop anything to help someone with the blender problem. And not that you have to do that, but it sort of creates a culture of sharing knowledge rather than hiding it and protecting it. So I think that makes a really good community.
Oh, that's beautiful. A helpful nature, trying to sharing your tips and tricks and being there for someone else. I heard somewhere, like, what do you think of this phrase? Sometimes the best student is the teacher. Do you agree with that?
Sometimes the best student is the teacher. In what can you give me more context? I feel like that could mean like a couple things.
It could mean a couple of things. Well, I guess you could say, for example, if I'm teaching somebody my own technique or workflow or the tips and tricks that I have learned through my experience, I try to palpitize it into something that's digestible, something that I can transmit and help the other person so that they can understand that particular workflow. As the teacher, because I'm teaching and trying to transmit the technique, I'm not sure if it's an English saying or Spanish saying. It's not my first language. Well, English is my first language, but not so good. But as the teacher, I'm cementing what I know more so by repetition and also regurgitation than the actual student who's learning from the information shared. Well,
Hmm.
that would be my opinion. Would you consider that a key aspect of the kind of culture you need?
Yes, yeah, 100%. Like there's I feel like yeah, when an idea is just in your brain, or if you feel like you intuitively understand something, you sometimes don't understand it all the way. So having to explain it to someone else and take into account that maybe they don't have the same foundational knowledge or like starting point that you do, yeah, like it is gonna help you to develop a deeper understanding, and also just the act of simplifying an idea, I think, creates clarity and understanding in yourself, which is kind of like painting something, honestly, simplifying it to make it to get to the core of what makes it what it is.
Okay. So when it comes to an art community, okay, you mentioned, okay, so being yourself, in other words, finding what you like and learning how to digest and reproduce and create and invent. The other was being someone helpful in a healthy community, finding where you fit, finding where you vibe, where you feel comfortable, and don't be afraid to try different areas and putting yourself out there. Accountability. Don't be afraid to share your work in progress, to show your progress, and also your sense of grace with yourself to not hold your old work as the definitive concept of who you are, but as your future work to be done, and your past work to be closed, and your present work to keep going, and not comparing yourself to others, to be free. To appreciate other people's artwork because of their set of cards that they've played with, so, as somebody who's building or being a part of an art community, being a good citizen, not only in helping, what else can I do to help grow these art communities? If I'm an experienced artist or a beginner artist, what is the best way to give back to these art communities? On top of just helping other people when they need the help or sharing your arts and tips, what do you think is a good I guess you could say fertilizer for an art community? How could you be good fertilizer for the art community?
Hmm. Yeah, I don't know if I have anything new to add. Like I really think it is just like sharing what you think, sharing what you make, and right. So yeah, I guess it's not just about helping people. It's about uh, putting your own work out there into the community. I think that that's kind of the most foundational fertilizer thing that you can do.
There you go. All right. Oh, I loved it. Well, this was very edifying. So, I guess we have a couple of other extra minutes to go. And I just wanted to share that there is a potential I have a little notice, but any closing thoughts? I just would like to ask the people on YouTube and also on Discord, do you have a question for Cody that we can ask here right now? If so, write it into the chat and I will ask it away. And until then, the secret announcement, which is no longer secret anymore, there is going to be a slight collaboration between you, right, Cody? We can talk about this collaboration, can we? About a competition?
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah,
All
yeah,
right.
totally.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
so B for Artist has reaching 10 years. And with these 10 years, we have done some customary competitions. And the next future release, which is going to come with B for Artist 4.5.0 based on Blender 4.5.0, is coming with color jitter, new grease pencil tools. I'm going to add an inverse hull system so you can have quick line art from drag and drop with grease pencil and other things like that. Well, we're doing a collaboration with Control Art Delete with a number of prizes by Erasers45 with some real-time viewport scopes as the first prize and a number of other prizes for second runner-ups, also done by Erasers. In this particular case, we're doing a splash screen competition over the next 3 to 4 weeks. In Monday or Tuesday, I'll be announcing the terms and conditions, but we'll be hosting this competition not only here in the B for Artist server, but in a collaboration with your server, Cody, in Control Art Delete. So the idea is you could be the new face of a custom fork of Blender and win a really cool add-on. That's actually very useful when it comes to color balancing and lighting directly in the viewport before you hit render. So this is the special announcement that I wanted to share concerning the 10th anniversary of B for Artist. There's an opportunity for you to be a splash screen and to win prizes, and we can do it either here in the server and in the Control Art Delete. So it's going to be exciting and fun. And the other thing that now we have a couple of questions. Only Quans has asked, do you have a solid pipeline in your workflow? A process that you trust and reproduce?
The answer is no. Not really. Not. I mean, I guess my process is chaos. I think. Okay, I guess I probably do have a process, right? I always will start with a simple, like, really quick block in a 3D sketch, and I try not to overthink it, and just like I love using the interactive cube tool in Blender, and just try to keep it really simple, like, and just making sure that I defer the details to the end, right? You just have to be sort of disciplined about the the order of operations, I guess, because I think there is definitely an impulse to get into the nitty gritty a little too early, and that also sort of harms the deadline, right? Because I feel like the if you're on a deadline, if you're in a time crunch, the best thing to cut are the details, right? You should make sure that you have the foundation established. But other than that, yeah, I sort of do things differently every time. I'm still trying to figure it out. Um, but yeah, I've never really been fully content with the process.
I love it. Man, you have such amazing drive to just keep pushing the envelope and going around different angles and things. That is a creative card that you gave to the people at Pixar, and I think that's highly valuable. Here's another question by White Rooster Productions. How do you struggle with deadlines?
Um, I I do. I struggle with them a lot. I think how do I do it?
Or how do you handle the struggle with deadlines? Maybe you
I see.
struggle, but how do you handle it?
Yeah. I think that I mean, I don't know. I don't know for sure. What I've been trying to do is just lead with a really solid understanding of what needs to be done. What, like, needs to be done. Because a lot of times when I'm running up against a deadline, and I'm struggling, it is because I have taken time to do something that's not that important. And like once again, that the foundation of that is perfectionism. Like that's how we get to that point. I feel like I would not struggle with deadlines if I stuck to the plan. And of course, like to be clear, a lot of times it's good. Like a lot of good things happen from not sticking to the plan. So it's really it's a balance, right? Because you want to experiment and discover things for sure, and that happens by meandering. But uh, but yeah, if you got a tight deadline, right? I would write down or like document like these are the beats I need to hit, and then do that first, and then be a perfectionist later.
Right. Yeah. So I guess you go the preliminary big tasks first and then focus on the details later. And if you have the time, then yeah, at least you've covered your ground points and milestones by the time before you start going down the rabbit hole of perfection.
Yeah, and then just to add one thing, it helps to kind of think of it like a designer, I guess. Like there's a if you give yourself a prompt or like
Mm,
like if you document the problem you're trying to solve, um, and if you're working on something and you're not sure if it's necessary, you compare what you're doing to the prompt, and you're like, okay, is this going to help me achieve the goal of this project, basically? And a lot of times it doesn't, or like, is this going to have a significant impact on on the outcome? And if it doesn't, maybe save it to the end
that's a good one.
or skip it.
Or skip it. Yeah. You have to do a lot of retrospective analysis while you're doing it as well. Yeah, got it. To be
Yeah.
adaptable.
Yeah.
All right. So here's another question by Les. Did you ever use or consider using Posca pencils for drawing textures, or have you used them already?
Not pencils. Um, I have used. I mean, like, are you talking about paint markers, or are you talking about specifically like actual pencils? I guess
Posca.
that would be the
Posca. Let me
clarification.
just look that up briefly.
Because I think when I think of Posca, I think of the paint markers. Yeah. So I don't use Posca brand, but yes, that type of marker, yes. Um, in the if you're on my Instagram and scroll down, um,
Right at the beginning, no?
yeah.
No.
Sorry, scroll up a little bit. We're looking for the plants. We're looking for maybe like the first potted plant. It's yeah,
This one?
yeah. So those leaves and all the textures in this one were drawn with uh, Molotow paint, which is a Posca competitor.
Right. So we have another
Yeah.
question by Vito Noda. Cody. Sometimes while work, you enter in an automatic mode. And do you kind of do everything without even noticing? Does it come to you as a second nature, or is it a very extraneous mental process?
Mm. I think it's kind of both. Like sometimes I will hit like a flow state kind of moment, but yeah, a lot of times it is very like I'm pomodoroing. I'm just like doing it in chunks. I'm timing myself because otherwise I would just wander and not do anything. But yeah, it's really nice when I'm in an automatic mode. I wish I could figure out how to get into it.
Yeah, I
But
wish we could all. Yeah. Remove the distractions, get hyper focused, know your tools, and get the job done. Know the milestones, not have to stop, pause, do retroactive concept or life calls, and you have to save your cat from some dog's jaws or something like that.
yeah.
All right, so here's another question by Iris Muddy. What's your favorite feeling when making art? Talking of feelings and focus. Is it something you've discovered, or is it something comfortable, or is it a specific subject matter, or a part of the process?
My favorite feeling when making art. That's a really good question, Iris Buddy. Um, I don't know. There's like a feeling after I've made something. Like I don't know. Like sometimes I make something, and this isn't all the time. I make something and then I go to sleep and I'm excited to wake up and look at it again. Like that's the feeling that I like. And it's like I don't know, just like a delight that this is a thing that came out of my brain somehow.
The
That's a
celebration of
feeling.
creation.
Yeah.
I agree with that one. I always get a massive, for example, my favorite step of the process is when I start to keyframe something after all the rigging, all the materials, all the modeling, the layout, and all of the lighting and the rendering setup and the technology I had to develop. But once I start to keyframe something and it suddenly becomes alive, there's a sense of like, holy, this is in this amazing giant expansive universe, this little thing is now alive, and I think it's alive after all that hard work, and now it's moving by itself. Or it looks like it's lit by itself and the light is bouncing on the wall, and it's like, that is absolutely beautiful how the colors came together. That is a beautiful feeling of it. It just came to exist.
Yeah, and two thoughts on that. Like so I did a stop motion project once where I just like built the puppet and just like the feeling of seeing it animated, that was magical for sure. And then something we didn't talk about is that I worked in the themed entertainment industry, and the feeling of like making something digitally and then seeing it physically in the real world um was insane. Like it was this thing that was on my computer screen is now I'm walking around looking at it.
That's
It's cool.
beautiful, yes. All right, we've got room for one more question, and then we're going to call it a day. It has been an absolute pleasure of an hour, an absolute amazing kickoff for season 3. Couldn't have been better. It's been 10 years of Be for Artists, and we will continue being for artists, continuing to do these things. Maybe we'll take your advice on more community activity and voice chats and things, and more collaboration with Control Art, Delete, and you and all else. So this final question is by Secretive Plotter on YouTube, and maybe a little bonus question if you have the time is are you happy and satisfied with life?
Um, I think so. I mean, I think it could always be better, but I think I am pretty happy. I'm pretty happy. I Yeah, that's my answer to that question.
Great,
I'm pretty
that's good.
happy. Could be better. Room for improvement.
That's the summary of all the advice of this whole entire thing. A community.
Yeah.
Be good and happy with everything you've done and everything that's happening, and just be yourself and be content with what you're doing, with the imperfections, things. But always there's room for improvement to keep pushing yourself out there to get and think of tomorrow and the next future. That's good. Well, I guess we can call it an hour today. We'll do the one little bonus question by I'm Kind of Drunk. And it says, how would a non technical beginner approach NPR? How would you describe it in the shortest answer possible? How would you begin?
Yes. So embrace Blender for what it is. Just see what you can do with the basics. Like it's incredible what you can do with just lighting, maybe a little bit of low poly, or just I guess focus on the shapes, focus on exaggerating things, and embrace the gradients. Right? There's no rule that says a gradient can't be non-photorealistic. It can. So just don't worry so much about the shaders.
All right. So that's it. That was Be With Artists, episode 106 with Cody Ginty. And thank you for everything about art communities and your advice concerning artwork. This will be happening every 2 weeks in the future at this particular time, maybe an hour earlier on Thursdays. So stay tuned for next 2 weeks for the next episode of 107 Be With Artists live Q&A. Thank you, Cody. It was
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
a
This was fun.
massive honor. Have a good one.